Hello, my name is Elmore Alexander, and I'm Principal Consultant with Optimal Campus. The focus of this session is to explore Optimal's approach to strategic consulting. Joining me is Michael Ginsberg, another of Optimal's Principal Consultants. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Elmore.
The focus of Optimal Campus is on the higher education strategy making process. Can you tell us about the approach that you take in assisting universities in developing a strategic perspective?
Sure, happy to. Our approach is comprehensive, systemic, and data-based. We have a four-stage process that begins by developing a clear understanding of an institution's place in the higher education world. What are the economic and political environment of the institution, and how do those impact that institution? An understanding of the demographic of the institution's markets. Who are the current students? What does the population look like? What are the trends? And what are the projections for that demographic? And finally, asking, what is the institution's unique value proposition? And I think that's very important. After we establish that, we assess the current portfolio of programs and activities. What are the actual costs and revenues, if any, of each program and each activity? What's the bottom line? What resources are devoted to those programs? We include academic programs, support activities, as well as administrative units and activities. And we were going to benchmark the institution's programs and activities versus its competitors. How do they compare on resources devoted to those programs? How do the costs compare to the competition? What is the market share and the market position for academic programs? Are there gaps in the program portfolio, or are there perhaps overlaps? Next, we build a model to assess existing and potential programs and activities and their fit in the post-COVID world. We try to identify synergies between and among programs, and between programs and support units. We'd also like to identify program opportunities that are unique to the institution's value proposition, and identify potential new student populations. Finally, we model various potential program and activity mixes and select a preferred mix for that institution to implement those changes.
Okay. Now, it would seem that systems thinking and systems analysis underlies both the design and the implementation of that perspective on strategic planning. Can you tell us a bit about what systems thinking is and how it does affect strategic planning?
Sure. Colleges and universities are complex institutions, and they're composed of many pieces. Those pieces interact with one another and they affect one another. Courses and program offerings impact what students come and how many come to the campus. Program offerings impact the faculty that are needed. The number of students on campus impacts housing and dining needs. It also impacts support activities, athletics, healthcare, etc., and the list goes on. Systems thinking means you recognize that complexity in those interactions. You don't make decisions about adding or dropping programs without considering the impact on the faculty required, on support facilities needed, dining and housing needed, etc. You also recognize that there are interactions among programs, perhaps preferred transfer paths. And the bottom line is, you can't make decisions, you can't plan by looking at one aspect of the institution independent of all the others.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now, probably the most important question, though, is how does this approach differ from the approach that other strategic consulting firms take?
Good question. I would say, Elmore, we have an approach, not a solution. We don't come to campus and say, aha, you have an enrollment problem, so let's beef up your recruiting effort. We're going to analyze your enrollment issue. We're going to model how the environment, demographics, current programs and activities generate that enrollment situation, and then work with the institution to develop solutions that take account of all of those components.
Interesting. Thank you very much. That's a very comprehensive perspective on how Optimal does deal with the strategic planning process. Thanks.
Thank you.